It's time to look at the switch gear for the handlebars. It could do with a good clean, although I'm not sure I want to do a full buffing job on it. I may just see if I can improve it a little bit. I might try the Dremel type tool and see if that'll clean it up. A lot of this looks like it's just dirt. I have noticed one of the issues I had was taking these out of the handlebars, because these cables run through the bars on the earlier models. This heat shrink, this original silver heat shrink, is fossilized. It's become inflexible. In actual fact, where I've tried to flex it and get it to move and straighten up, it's actually broken. So what I'm going to do, hopefully, is strip off this old heat shrink and see if I can't put on some modern stuff. Now I've only got black. The fact that this is so inflexible is going to make it almost impossible to rethread down the handlebar tubes. I think that's going to work for us if we switch it out for this one and get rid of this really old brittle stuff. I'm going to try this little Scotch-Brite jobby and see if that does any damage. I'm going to do it in a discreet area where no one's really going to notice. But it's not chewing it to pieces, that's a good sign. "20 minutes later, and we've got a before and after. So it's not perfect, but it's a damn sight better than the one on the left, which still has the dull, rough finish to it. And there we have it. 2 polished pieces, although I keep getting my grubby fingers on them and ruining them. I'm hoping if I can just score it, it might split along its own length. Yeah. I don't know if you can see how brittle this stuff is now, but it just snaps. There we go. It's just snapping along that score line I made. Right, I'll continue all the way down the length. So the whole cable, once you scored it, it just wanted to split along its own line, which kept the cables inside intact. Okay, I've got a bit of fishing trace that I'm going to push into this. Then if I put the heat shrink on top of this, this is very convoluted. Should have used some thicker trace, it would have been easier. Okay, and then if I leave the heat shrink there and pull the... there we go, that's worked. Okay, now we have the trace sticking out the back of the heat shrink tubing. Hopefully I won't drop it. And then... come on. Nearly there. There we go. Pulls that through. That is nice and flexible now and should make life a lot easier to thread down the handlebars compared to the crispy, solid, immovable. You can hear how dry that is. Weird side note, I've got to a junction on the other switchgear where there are smaller pieces of the original heat shrink tubing, and I can't easily change those out. So I took a piece of the old tubing that's stiff and brittle, and I just applied a bit of heat to it just to see if we can get some life back into it, only a little bit. Let it cool for a moment, and then suddenly we've got some flexibility back. So what I'm going to do is heat up these old pieces just gently and see if we can make them a bit more pliable than they were. We now have 2 freshly repackaged flexible cables and controls, and I'm feeling lucky, so I'm going to have a go at getting these back onto the handlebars. But I'm wondering if we can use the same fishing line trick to pull the cables into the handlebars. I threaded this hollow plastic tube in from this end through the handlebars, and that went through smoothly enough. It's got a bit of rigidity so you can push it in. Then I'm going to use the fishing trace again. Oh, we must buy some glasses. I am quite literally just trying to find the end of that. I'm going to thread this through as it slides neatly down it, through it, and then hopefully when we get all the way through I can withdraw the yellow tube and it should leave the cable sticking through. Let's give that a go, see what happens. Yep, there it is. Hope it shows up on film. Right, now then, let's see if there's enough room to get all this in there. I've been dreading this bit. It's one of the reasons why I changed the heat shrink, was because I knew the old one just didn't have the flexibility to work its way through. There it goes. Could do with an assistant again. Too far. Okay, the next difficult bit. Am I in shot? I'm not in shot. There's a small cutout where the cables have to come out, and I just hope there's enough wiggle room for me to be able to pull that through. Might be more difficult with the second cable coming the other way because we're going to have less room to work with. Here you go. Well, that's something, isn't it? I'm going to try not to scratch the paintwork up on this handlebar. So, after a little bit of fiddling, a little bit of pulling, tugging, and a little bit of heating of those old bits of heat shrink, I was able to get this in. I have to say I'm very disappointed with the fit and finish on this Honda part. I noticed this when I dismantled it and thought the previous owner had been at it, but I think in actual fact it just badly fits. But anyway, it's on there for now. So yeah, so that's one side done. I now obviously have to do battle with the other side. And there we have it. This side was much easier than the throttle side. There's just less to get in the tube. So it went through, it came out the other end alright, so we're happy with that. So yeah, the only downside being is these are now black shrouded rather than silver, but to be honest I don't think it make much difference once it's behind the headlight. Fresh back from the platers, we have got the cable adjusters, so we'll get those fitted now. These were really rusty when they came off the bike. Now they look, well, they don't look brand new, but they look shiny. Damn sight better than they were. And it seems to be about the same price no matter how much you put into the platers. The whole box of bits I sent off the other day was £35 to have plated, and considering how it rejuvenates all the parts, it's well worth getting everything in there that you can possibly think of. There we go. You didn't see any of that. There we go. Brand new looking. There we go. Nice shiny adjusters on the ends of the brake levers. In fact, I'm tempted to put the brake levers on now, but I'm not going to.